Hi guys, so on Wednesday Boris Johnson was back in the House of Commons for PMQs, where he was trying to defend his government's behaviour when it came to P&O ferries, how they acted and why they have yet to be punished. Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, challenged the Prime Minister on this, of course, and Johnson had to run to his hiding place, Brexit fibs. Have a listen to him engage in barefaced lies about Fire and Rehire, and somehow that if Starmer was in charge, the UK government wouldn't be able to get rid of it. What?
Mr. Speaker, the most notable practitioners of Fire and Rehire are, of course, the Labour Party themselves. He may be interested. He may be interested to know we will be vindicating the rights of British workers, UK employees under UK law. But the law that the P&O, the company themselves, are allegedly relying on was introduced, I can tell him, as a result of EU directives. And
no, it was not, because I think what Boris Johnson is referring to here is Article 5 of EU directives. And it says here, this directive shall not affect the rights of member states to apply or to introduce laws, regulations or administrative provisions which are more favourable to workers, or to promote or to allow the application of collective agreements more favourable to workers. So this is about setting a minimum standard. So member states can set higher standards. You know, for example, in Ireland, Spain and France, where Fire and Rehire is actually illegal. It's not illegal in the UK. It wasn't illegal in the UK when it was a member. The directive asks for a minimum standard. But let's continue.
And never forget, Mr. Speaker, and he may not like it, that's the reality. He would have kept us unable to change it, unable to get out of it.
Unable to change it? Unable to get out of it? Unable to change what? The directive? Unable to set a higher standard? Well, there was a vote on Monday, an opposition day motion, for P&O ferries and employment rights, where they wanted to ban Fire and Rehire. And Boris Johnson and his party abstained. So there was an option to actually fire Fire and Rehire, to get rid of Fire and Rehire. And you abstained. In a sense, you voted against it.
He would have made it impossible for us to protect UK employees in the way that we're going to do. But what we're doing, Mr. Speaker, above all, is ensuring that workers in this country have the best protection of all, which is a job, Mr. Speaker. And under this government, thanks to the steps that we have taken, thanks to the stewardship of the economy by my right honourable friend, which you'll be hearing about in a little bit more, Mr. Speaker, we have people in payroll employment, 600,000 more of them than before the pandemic began.
A lot of people are working, but a lot of people are relying on food banks. A lot of people are working, and a lot of people are relying on universal credit. It's not about the number of jobs, it's about the quality of the jobs, it's about the level of pay. If people are working and they have to rely on food banks, then they're not earning enough. Boris Johnson doesn't have to rely on a food bank. Why is that the case? Why does Rishi Sunak or Priti Patel or any member of Parliament not have to rely on a food bank? Can anyone answer that question? It's a conundrum for me. You know, why are some people relying on food banks and others not? For example, members of Parliament are not relying on food banks. Is it because they're paid more than people who rely on food banks? Now I think I found the solution to this problem, the answer to this problem. People are not earning enough. That's why they have to rely on food banks. It's not that people have jobs, it's that they have jobs that don't pay enough. Now, when it comes to the ferries, what's very interesting is this story from Sky News, where it says here, P&O ferries sackings, change in law signed off by Chris Grayling meant P&O didn't need to tell the government, maritime lawyer says. So this guy, who famously gave out contracts to ferry companies that actually didn't have ferries some years ago, he actually signed off on a law that allowed these companies to lay off staff without telling the government. And nobody knew about it until Sky News highlighted it on Wednesday. Absolutely ridiculous. But then this is Boris Johnson to a T. The worst thing about all of this is that he has lied in Parliament, and he's going to get away with it. He won't have to come back and correct the record. So this brings us back to this age-old question. What is the point of all of this? What is the point in Boris Johnson standing up there at the dispatch box and responding to questions? He's not answering questions. What's the point of him responding to them? Because he responds with lies. It's just a charade. What is the point of it all? Because he doesn't answer questions. Ministers don't answer questions. They're not held to account. They get away with it. There's no punishment. You know, if he turns up without a tie, he'll be asked to leave. If he turns up and engages in barefaced lies, no problem whatsoever. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.